Okay students, today we will be studying about nuclear fission reaction. So nuclear fission reaction, what this phenomenon is. The process in which heavy nucleus, here in case of nuclear fission, heavy nucleus, it splits into two fragments, okay. This is nothing but nuclear fission. In this process there will be a release of energy. That is, nuclear fission is a process in which heavy nucleus splits into two fragments of comparable mass, releasing energy. This process is known as nuclear fission. So let us see a nuclear fission of uranium-236 here. So what happens? Uranium-235, that is a heavy nucleus. You will get, now what happens? We'll get two fragments. One is barium, the other is krypton. And we will remain with the 3 neutron and the energy is released. In this way you can show how nuclear fission takes place. Nuclear fission is nothing but it is a process in which heavy nucleus splits into two fragments of comparable masses, releasing energy. So we have seen nuclear fission taking place in uranium-236 element. So the process can be explained in this way. So uranium-235 with 1 neutron goes to uranium-236, that is 92. So it splits into barium and krypton, releasing energy. In another way you can show this as in this way. So this is 1 neutron. This is uranium-235. It takes 1 neutron and it gets 236. And it gives two fragments, one is barium, the other is krypton, and also it gives 3 neutron, right? And along with this there will be energy released in this process. So with this neutron it gets. So during nuclear fission process, what happens? Neutrons released in the fission of the nucleus can cause 2 or more fissions. Further reactions may take place in the neighboring nuclei, releasing more neutrons. This in turn results in breaking of more nuclei and hence more neutrons are released in this nuclear fission. Thus the process of fission continues by itself once it is sustained. Once it is started, it goes on continuing the process. So this kind of reaction is known as chain reaction. You can see in crackers you have seen big strands of crackers. When it is given a fire, then what happens? It continues to react, right? The same way goes with this nuclear fission. What happens? These neutrons released once again goes with a heavy nucleus and splits the lighter nuclei, and once again there will be large number of neutrons released, and once again it goes on. That this process, this kind of reaction is known as chain reaction. This chain reaction is of two types, that is the controlled chain reaction and the uncontrolled chain reaction. Before going to that, let us know what chain reaction is. A chain reaction is nothing but it is a self-propagating process. Self-propagating process in which number of neutrons goes on multiplying until the entire fissile material disintegrate. So total the whole nucleus until it disintegrates, the process will continue. So chain reaction is nothing but it's a reaction in which a self-propagating process where number of neutrons goes on multiplying until the whole fissile process is disintegrated or whole nucleus is disintegrated. There are two types of chain reaction. One is the controlled chain reaction and the other is a uncontrolled chain reaction. So, what is controlled chain reaction? Controlled chain reaction is nothing but, in this reaction, number of neutrons is allowed to multiply until it reaches a steady state. So this can be controlled by ourselves by taking measures or taking any elements. We can control this process. That is, this process. In this process, number of neutrons multiply up to steady state. After this steady state, there will be no further reaction, and it is maintained in a constant. For this, you can take example of nuclear reactor. Nuclear reactor. An uncontrolled chain reaction. Here, number of neutrons which is formed in this reaction is allowed to multiply indefinitely. It goes on multiplying continuously, and the entire energy is released with a short interval of time. So this is it's unstoppable. It is not under our control. We cannot control this once it is started. Some of the elements are very dangerous. If it gets fired, it will not stop. For example, for this, you can take Nagasaki and Hiroshima. The bomb, atom bomb there it was a uncontrolled chain reaction. For this, you can take example is atom bomb. So once it starts to take place, we cannot control it by ourselves. Until the whole nucleus is disintegrated, this process will go on. But in this kind of chain reaction, there will be no stop at all. For this, a good example we can see is things that are happening in Hiroshima and Nagasaki until the date. After the atom bomb was exploded there, till now there is a result for what we say the reaction that takes place, and due to that reaction many are suffering. The atoms present, which was present in the atom bomb, was really dangerous, and still you can see many of them are suffering because of this. So this is uncontrolled chain reaction. So what we have seen is chain reaction. Chain reaction is nothing but self-propagating process where the number of neutrons goes on multiplying until the whole nucleus is disintegrated. And chain reaction is of two types. One is controlled chain reaction, the other is an uncontrolled chain reaction. Here chain reaction in which number of neutrons goes on multiplying up to a steady state. Thereafter it remains constant. Example you can take as a nuclear reactor. Uncontrolled chain reaction is that there will be the number of neutrons goes on increasing continuously, and the energy released with a short interval of time. Example we can take as an atom bomb. So now is the critical size. What is critical size? So fissionable material, whatever it is, material which undergoes fission, those materials have a particular size for which a chain reaction occurs at constant rate. Particular size for which a chain reaction occurs at constant rate. So that is known as critical size of that fissionable material. So fissionable materials have their particular size for which chain reaction occurs at constant rate. Those are known as critical size. Then is a critical mass. So the mass of the particular fissionable material required to make a fission reaction self-sustaining. Self-sustaining means in order to stop the reaction by itself. That is self-sustaining. So critical mass is a mass of the fissionable material required to make fission reaction self-sustaining. Fission reaction self-sustaining. Okay. So these are about critical size and critical mass. Critical size is that the fissionable material have a particular size for which a chain reaction or a reaction takes place at a constant rate, and critical mass is a mass of the fissionable material required to make fission reaction self-sustaining. Next is a multiplication factor. multiplication factor, or it is also known as Q factor, or sorry students, not live, multiplication factor or reproduction factor, not a Q value, sorry, Q value we have seen in the last class, not in the last class. Okay, a reproduction factor, it is denoted as K. Okay, the possibility of chain reaction is determined by a factor. So whether the element is going to undergo fission or not, or the chain reaction or not, it is determined by a factor known as multiplication factor or reproduction factor. That is, K is given as a rate of production neutrons to rate of loss of neutrons. Once again, I'll repeat. This multiplication factor and reproduction factor is a factor which determines the possibility of a chain reaction. That is, whether the element undergoes chain reaction or not, it is determined by this factor known as multiplication factor or reproduction factor. It is given as K is equal to rate of reproduction neutrons to rate of loss of neutrons. In case of, if K is equal to 1, the nuclear fission reaction will remain steady. So this factor, if this factor is 1, then it gives us that nuclear reaction is steady. If K is greater than 1, then reaction will be, may result in explosion. If K is greater than 1. This condition is also known as supercritical condition or a supercritical stage. If K is less than 1, then nuclear fission reaction will retard. Retard means slow process. So this is known as subcritical stage. If K is 1, then fission reaction is steady. If K is greater than 1, it may undergo explosion, and it is also known as supercritical stage. If K is less than 1, then the process will retard, and it is known as subcritical stage. This is about chain reaction. Now let us move on to a process known as nuclear reactor, which was the example for controlled chain reaction, right? So nuclear reactor, I think you have seen in your lower classes how the nuclear reactor will be. Go to the textbook for that. I will just explain some of the parts of the nuclear reactor as well as the working of the nuclear reactor. So go to the textbook clearly for this to understand. A nuclear reactor is a powerful device in which nuclear fission can be carried out through a sustained and controlled chain reaction. As we know, nuclear reactor is an example for controlled chain reaction. It can be sustained by ourselves. So this nuclear reactor contains components like let us see one by one. First is a nuclear fuel. In order to work the nuclear reactor to work, it needs a nuclear fuel. So what nuclear fuel is? It is a fissionable material to be used for the nuclear fission process to take place. This is a fissionable material. It should be a fissionable material. The commonly used nuclear fuel is uranium-235. Most commonly they use uranium-235 as a nuclear fuel, and they also use plutonium also, both of this, but most commonly they use uranium-235 as a nuclear fuel. Nuclear fuel, this nuclear fuel is sealed in an aluminium cylinder, okay, and inserted at regular intervals in a huge graphite block. The whole nuclear fuel box is kept in graphite block, okay. This is a thing. So nuclear fuel was a first component of the nuclear reactor, because without fuel, nuclear reactor will not work. And the most commonly used nuclear fuel is uranium-235, and other fuel which we use is plutonium-235. Okay. Then comes the nuclear fuel. Is this nuclear fuel is sealed in an aluminium block, and the whole thing is inserted in the graphite block. Next is a moderator. Next component of the nuclear reactor is a moderator. Moderator, the main use of moderator is to slow down the fast moving neutron. Slow down the fast moving neutrons. So moderator, they are used to slow down the fast moving neutron. The most commonly used neutrons are as a moderator are a graphite, water and heavy water. And these are commonly used as moderators. Why these are used is because they must have low atomic weight, and other reason is they should not absorb neutrons. If they absorb neutrons, then there will be no neutrons and there will be no process of fission. So there is a condition. So once again I'll repeat moderator. They are used to slow down the fast moving neutrons, and the most commonly used moderators are graphite, water and heavy water. Since why these elements are used as moderators is because they have low atomic weight and they do not absorb neutrons. Next part or the next component of nuclear reactor is control rods. These control rods have the ability to capture the slow neutrons. These control rods have the ability to capture slow neutrons. See, if nuclear reactor by chance if it undergoes fission continuously, which cannot be controlled, by that time you can use these control rods because they have the ability to capture slow neutrons. By capturing slow neutrons, what happens? The amount of neutrons released will be less. Therefore, the whole fission reaction in the nuclear reactor can be controlled. So these control rods have the ability to capture slow neutrons. Most of the time, boron or cadmium are inserted as a control rods in the holes of the reactor core up to a desirable length. They must have the desirable length. If there is a short or long length, it may not be able to capture the slow neutrons due to the height. So height of the length of the control rods is also very important. Why boron and cadmium are used as a control rods is because they readily absorb slow neutrons. Okay. Once again, I'll repeat. Control rods. It is a component of the nuclear reactor which has the ability to capture slow neutrons. Most of the time, boron or the cadmium rods are used, which are inserted in the holes of the reactor core up to a desirable length in order to control the chain reaction. This boron and cadmium is used because they have the ability, or they can readily absorb slow neutrons. Then the next component is neutron reflector. Neutron reflector. Most of the reactors are provided with reflectors around them to reflect neutrons leaking out of the surface. So however we keep the nuclear reactor, there will be some of the places where these neutrons can leak out. So for that purpose, neutron reflectors are used and often used neutron reflector are graphite. Most of the time they use graphite as a nuclear or a neutron reflector. See, whenever neutron tries to escape from the reactor, this neutron reflector gets it back to the reactor, and most of the time graphite is used as a neutron reflector. The next component is cooling system. Cooling system or a coolant. So the material which is used to remove heat produced. So during the nuclear fission, there is enormous amount of energy is released, right? During this process, there will be a heat produced, and the material which is used to remove. So this cooling system or the coolant is used to remove the heat produced and transfer it from the core of the nuclear reactor to the surroundings. Okay, so if it is in the one place, then only one place gets a high amount of heat or the temperature, which may lead to spoiling or damage to the nuclear reactor. So this coolant, what it makes, it removes the heat produced and it transfers it to the whole system or the surrounding of the nuclear reactor. In this way, there will be the temperature will be maintained. Then the coolant releases the heat energy to the water, and the water is thus converted into superheated steam. Right? What happens from the reactor when whatever we have seen with nuclear fuel, moderator, controller, or neutron reflector, when this process takes place, there will be a heat. So this coolant, what they make is they convert heat energy into this heat, or it transfers the heat to the water here in the moderator, and this water is converted into steam, because of course when water is heated, what happens? It boils, and the boiling water gives the steam, which is then used to run the turbines. So in this way, with one shot we can use for 3, right? These turbines in turn used to operate electric generators. At ordinary temperature, water and heavy water are used as coolant, but at high temperature liquid sodium is used. Okay, so once again I'll explain what this cooling system or the coolant is. The material which is used to remove this coolant is nothing but a material used to remove the heat produced and transfer it from the core of the nuclear reactor to the surroundings. That is, when coolant releases the heat energy to the water, and the water in turn is converted into superheated steam, which is helpful to run the turbines. When these turbines are running, what happens? It generates electricity. So at ordinary temperature, water and heavy water is used as a coolant. At a high temperature, liquid sodium is used as a coolant. The last part is the protective shield. To prevent the spreading of radioactive effect, because radioactive active elements or the materials are the very dangerous things for human beings, not only for human beings, all the living beings. So in order to prevent the spreading of radioactive to the space around the nuclear reactor, the whole reactor is protected with the concrete walls. It is protected with the concrete walls, which are up to 2 to 2.5 meter thick, is known as protective shield. Okay, students, these radioactive elements are not good for human beings or the living beings. Therefore, in order to prevent the leakage or spreading of radioactive effect to the space around the nuclear reactor, a concrete wall up to 2 to 2.5 meter thick